So tonight's story picks up on last night's story. Last night we talked about how when God told Abraham that the land that he saw would all be there for his children and his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren to live, there was one catch, a little thing we didn't mention in the story before that. And we're going to talk about that in the Bible story for tonight. So here's a picture of Abraham sitting in his tent under the trees at Hebron, and he's relaxing, and he looks down the road, and something is about to happen. Here's the story. Abraham was sitting by his tent one very hot day. He looked up and he saw 3 men standing nearby. He was happy to have visitors. He hurried to them and asked them to stay for dinner. Then Abraham ran to his tent. See, he's sticking his head inside there, and inside, remember, he didn't leave his place alone. He wasn't traveling alone. He still had his wife Sarah with him. And if you're going to ask somebody in for dinner, you better let somebody know about it. Don't just do that stuff on your own. Here's the story. Then Abraham ran to his tent. "Quick, Sarah," he said. "Get some flour, bake some bread. We're having guests for dinner." You know, a lot of people have been baking a lot recently. There's nothing quite as good as some nice fresh bread right out of the oven. He's making sure that the guests have something that makes them feel really good and that can fill their tummies. He says, "Get some flour, bake some bread. We're having guests for dinner." Sarah made a good dinner for them. Here you can see a picture. They're sitting on the floor eating, and they've got some fresh bread, and it looks like they've got some other good stuff in the bowls in front of them, and they're relaxing and talking with each other. They're having a good time. They're sharing. Sarah made a good dinner for them, and while they were eating, the men said a very surprising thing. They said, "Next year, you and Sarah will have a baby boy." Now, this was surprising because Abraham and Sarah didn't have any children, and they were too old to have a baby. Here's a picture of Sarah. Sarah, it says, was listening in her tent. She heard what the men said, and she laughed. She didn't believe them. Has anybody ever laughed at you? How did it make you feel? Or have you ever laughed at somebody? How did you feel when you were doing it? Well, Sarah, she thought, honestly, I think she probably thought they were making a joke. And, she was a pretty good person. She managed to laugh along with them. She didn't assume that they were being mean to her. That she figured, people can say something funny, and it's just funny. And if you can laugh at yourself, that can be very helpful later on as you get bigger. Anyway, so Sarah laughed. Then God said, "Why did Sarah laugh? Is anything too hard for the Lord?" And God kept his promise. Even though Sarah and Abraham were very old, God gave them a baby boy. And his name was Isaac. Incidentally, the name Isaac in the Hebrew language that the Bible was written in, it means laughter. God gave them laughter. It's great when a little baby is born. It's terrific. And it makes other people laugh and smile too. Now, babies are a lot of work, but they bring happiness. And God is happy that each and every one of us is around. whether we're babies or whether we've grown up a little bit. It's another good person in the family. So if you had somebody make fun of you today, don't worry about it. If you made fun of somebody, maybe tell them not to worry about it. Because you know what? All of us, if we understand how to do it, can do what Isaac did. And just by who you are, you can make somebody smile. And that's better than making somebody laugh at you. Sleep tight. See you tomorrow.